the bones. I am a powerful sorcerer.
There's a pack here with an acorn pointed at me!
You know, there's skill and there's talent, and I just happen to have both.
You are Elora Danan, lost blood of Chimeria, future Empress, High Priestess, sent from sorceress of the 9 realms, and the world's last, best hope against the evil coming to destroy us all.
You heard it up top. We are going on a magical journey to a far-off land as we talk about, a George Lucas property that nobody talks about. That's right, because on this special episode, we're going to be talking about Willow, the film in the series, here on Normies Like Us, with your hosts, a prince of Colin Schmear.
Nice. I'll be Mike Martigan, the world's greatest podsman.
Wow.
Hey, Mike Martigan is great.
That's right.
And this is Jillo. I'm just a young, unassuming Nelwyn from my home farm.
Jillo
Nothing to see
good.
here. Jillo Ufgood, that's right.
That's right. I'm a sorcerer, and I will destroy you.
I'm the High Aldwin.
Yeah, I have a stick. Now. It's a catalyst. Watch out.
Yes.
You have
listeners.
Sharon Drella's wand. So many names, so many words being thrown out because we are talking about a fantasy series. We don't get to talk about a lot of them. But no, we're not talking about Lord of the Rings. We're not taking a trip to Westeros, and one of our favorite things to talk about, right? Instead, we're going to the magical kingdom of Tir Asleen, which obviously we are all super familiar with.
Obviously.
And it is the setting for the 1988 film epic by Ron Howard, Willow, which we'll talk about. And of course, again, this series reboot from Disney Plus now that has come out here and finished in the new year. What a great topic to talk about to kick off, right, the new year.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you guys, what is your history with Willow?
Well.
Yeah, for me, I'm not too familiar with Willow before now. Colin, you said, watch the show. It's pretty good. You guys should check it out. I said, all right. I've never seen the movie, but I watched the first episode of the show, and then I was like, all right, I'm a little confused. Let me go back and watch the movie, which is also on Disney Plus. And if I certain parts seem familiar, so I think I maybe have seen it when I was very young, but don't totally remember it. So it was kind of like experiencing it again for the first time. But I watched the movie, thought that was a lot of fun, and then I finished the rest of the series, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Nice. I had seen the movie when I was a kid, on VHS maybe once. I hadn't seen or really thought about Willow in about 20 years. And then I watched it out of order, though. I figured I probably remember enough. And then I watched the show all the way through and was like, oh, geez, I should probably rewatch the movie. So I did it backwards. I'll let you know how that was about. You guys can clue me in on any references I probably missed. But Colin, how about you?
Fascinating. As you guys said, I kind of teed you off to this show. My dad was like, hey, I'm watching this Willow show. It's bad. You should check it out. And that is the caveat I keep recommending it to people with. It's bad. You'll like it. I'm also going to defend more than that and maybe complain more than that when we talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
But my history with the movie, I want to pose to you guys, because you're both saying, you've maybe seen it but don't remember. I want to declare this. This is a sleepover classic, boys. This is a movie you do not own on VHS. This is something you see at another kid's birthday party, and you're like, what was that movie I saw? And later, you think it's Conan, and you're, explaining to your friends, all the scenes in Conan with, the magic stick wand. And people are like, no. That is not what that is at all.
Right.
So that's my experience
For me,
with it, at least. I think that might be the same to you.
Well, for me, the sleepover movie always was, for some reason, The Princess Bride. So I saw The Princess Bride a bunch when I was a kid, which is another, 80s fantasy movie.
Yes.
And that's a great movie. But I think I half remember seeing this. Also, Legend by Ridley Scott.
Yes.
Another mid 80s fantasy movie. They kind of all blend together.
Half remembered movie, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would argue.
To be fair, I did think that the Willow reboot, I was like, damn, they're going to get Tom Cruise back? I'm like, oh, wait, that's a different thing.
Right, yeah.
So I did
It's
kind of
hard,
conflate
guys.
the two. Yeah, for sure. But
What do we think it is? It's, we'll talk about it. The movie didn't land. It's just interesting that between the three of us, three guys who we all like fantasy, we all play Dungeons and Dragons. We've all sort of like, talked about us delving into the fantasy world. None of us are like, yo, I had an older brother who we called, Mad Mardigan because like we love this movie so much. No, it just was not there.
No, I
It's a
mean, I don't know. Yeah.
I was just going to say there's a bit of an avatar where you can't really name anybody but Willow and Mad Mardigan. So like, you kind of can, but like there's a
Right.
lot of nouns that just fall right out of your brain.
Well, it came out, obviously before Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, which kind of blows it out of the water. But it's kind of, like a poor imitation of Lord of the Rings, and this is my experience rewatching the movie. Obviously the story was by George Lucas. This movie has a lot in common with Star Wars, right? Obviously the whole hero's journey, Joseph
It's fantasy
Campbell.
Star Wars.
It's fantasy Star Wars, and even down to all the characters, they all have like an analog to Star Wars. Mad Mardigan is fantasy Han Solo. Willow is Luke / Frodo, kind of.
Right. Well,
I could go on. But
how about we break that down when we dive into it? Because much like Star Wars, it also got a spin-off television series on Disney Plus. So more in common than we think. So I say, yeah, let's dive right in. Let's go to whatever what's this kingdom
Tir
called?
Asleen.
Tir Asleen, my favorite
baby.
fantasy kingdom. We're going
Of
right
course.
now. Catch you over there, Daikini.
All right, we are back here on Normies Like Us, where we once again are visiting a faraway kingdom. That's right, we're visiting Tir Asleen, talking Willow. A complaint up top. Jacob, you were just about to go into the story development of this. It comes from George Lucas. You were just talking to Joseph Campbell of it all. He knows that these epic tales need story names that are bigger than the heroes. It's not called Luke Skywalker. It's called Star Wars. You don't want to call your series Willow. You should call it, I guess, Tir Asleen, which is not a great title.
The Chronicles of Tir Asleen.
Like if Lord of the Rings was called Frodo, right?
Yeah.
I mean, well, obviously the star of Willow is a little guy named Warwick Davis.
That's right.
First popped up, obviously, in Return of the Jedi, playing Wicket the Ewok, which was originally going to be played by Kenny Baker. He had some kind of conflict or something, couldn't do the part. Warwick Davis was like an extra for the Ewok stuff, but he stood out to George Lucas, and he's like, let's get this kid. He was only like, 13 at the time. He's a kid. And he just had that charisma, I guess. George Lucas is like, all right, he's our Wicket. And then he's like, you know what? I'm developing this fantasy movie.
Wicket. Willow.
Right.
Yeah. Wicket's the sorcerer of the village. In the Ewok lore,
Pretty much.
Yeah. And he, for some reason, he's like, Warwick Davis, this is the star of my fantasy film, Willow. And obviously Warwick Davis at the time of filming was only a young lad of 17. So
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
He's a leading man before he was legally a man. Warwick Davis.
Right.
A legend. Not to be confused with Legend the movie that's similar to Willow, but yes. Willow.
That's right. So, obviously George Lucas took this basic framework laid out by Star Wars. Like I said, the characters. It's also got Lord of the Rings in there being, instead of a ring, Willow is tasked with protecting a baby, Laura Dannon. Might have heard of her.
There's some biblical, some Moses child in a basket, down the river stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But you got Mad Mardigan and Sorcerer. That's the Han and Leia dynamic there. You've got Bavmorda, the Emperor, if you will. And you've got
Pharaoh.
The brownies. Those are the droids. So it
I
geez.
guess
tagging
you're
along.
right. Oh, I
the
really
comic
don't
relief
like
characters.
This.
Yeah.
It's a magical world where things like brownies can exist, super teeny tiny people, Nelwyn, small people, hobbits, almost as you've sort of pointed out,
as it were.
Daikini, full-sized humans. We get trolls. We get two-headed chimeras breathing fire. We get fairies. We get the Queen of the Fairies, showing Dura. Yes, we get Fan Razel, the great sorceress.
We get people turning into pigs and all kinds of fun stuff.
It's a huge, big, fun, exciting world. And Jacob, exactly how you're saying it, you feel George Lucas being like, yeah, and that's what it's going to be. But my take is the characters. I have cracked the characters that people like in film. Mad Mardigan's gonna like not adhere to the quote unquote hero's call, and then he's gonna do
only
something
in it for
cool,
himself at first,
and he's gonna be
starts to believe in the
selfish.
cause.
But then literally a character's gonna say to him, "When did you join a cause?" And he's gonna, like outright, run out and like fight and do stuff. Also, that character's name was Eric. Let's remember that.
That's right. He named his son after that guy.
Boy, for some reason,
that's canon.
And you truly do get almost hubris in the sense of George Lucas now is a kingmaker. He has stepped away after Return of the King. He stepped away after the first film. To remind everyone, in that run, he only directs, quote unquote, a film in 1977 called Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Empire Strikes Back, somebody else. Return of the Jedi, somebody else. So after Return of the Jedi, Richard Marquand, of course, he's already given that seal of approval, going to go on to have a huge career as well. He's scooping up other people, and he spots, coming off of Cocoon, a young little curly red-headed chosen prophecy child named Alora Ron Howard.
That's right.
Who
Ron
was
Howard.
a former TV star, who had juice, was like a well-known good kid, has this good directing career. Cocoon's a hit, and he goes, here it is. I've cracked the code. I've cracked the other code of picking up talent. This movie is going to be a surefire hit. And like we kind of said, culturally, I mean, guys, this film was nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Screenplay.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think a lot of people might have had the same complaints where it's like, wow, this seems awfully familiar to Star Wars. It's a very generic kind of hero's journey story. And as much as the world building is fun, it's like it doesn't really kind of transcend that genericness at times. But I think maybe the world wasn't ready for it. If it came out in the 2000s, when there's a lot more fantasy type stuff that's popular. Obviously, Game of Thrones was like the most popular show for like a decade, so it might have got a different reaction. But maybe they weren't ready for it in '88.
I think they were over it. I think we're coming off the backs of like He-Man and Master of the Universe. Conan had already come out. We're like at the tail end of our sword and sandals, our beast mastering as a society. In the 90s, we're going to get, whatever we did in the 90s. But we were kind of over like fantasy blockbusters for a little bit. And maybe it was just general audience fatigue. Plus, it's like, I've seen this in Star Wars. Peter Jackson brought it back. Took about 20 years, but he did it.
But I think with Willow, what kind of stands apart from some of these movies is that it's kind of lighthearted and fun at the end of the day. Like, it's not self-serious about itself.
No.
Like, it knows it's silly, and it kind of leans into that silliness a lot, right?
We made the distinction, of course, on our House of Dragons episode, Jacob, about high fantasy is like, or maybe it was our Rings of Power episode. Go back to listeners and check out both. But of being like, oh, I would never swear, like, in the golden glades of Galazazoo. And you're like, okay, yes.
Crazy
and
magic.
Low fantasy is being like, boy, suck on my tits, Gov. Oh, there's a dragon there. Like all that shit.
Right.
Willow is that interesting thing, kind of Princess Bride-esque, like you just said, that exists at the in-between where there can be adult situations, but it never disrespects the fantasy world it is creating.
Yeah. I enjoy the world a lot, actually. I think fun is the key thing to this one. It's a fun movie.
Yeah. And it's got comedy elements. I mean, Matt Mardigan, like he's a great swordsman, but he also can get into some hijinks sometimes.
He can do drugs. He can get hit by love spells.
Yeah. And, I think the world building, it's kind of there in broad strokes in the movie. I feel like it gets filled out a lot by this show, right? Like they really expand on the world. And for my Star Wars comparison, I feel like this show is kind of the Force Awakens of Willow, right?
Yeah, which is, it's tough. It's a tough break that it's named Willow, the movie. Like, because that's what you have, Velma. That's the spinoff for a solo character. That's what the show should be called, right? I don't know if that's good or not, but you would spin off with a single character's name. Right?
Yeah.
But
because even the show, you want to call like the Allure, the quest for Allure Danon, or Willow, Colin, something. Even just we've talked so much about Lego sequels. Boy. It always bugs me when one is just called the year of this one.
22.
And the thing is, Willow I mean, he was the star of the movie. He's not the star
Yeah.
of the show. He's more
Right.
in the Obi-Wan mentor role now, or the Luke,
The
you know,
Luke.
Luke in the new sequels.
Last Jedi.
So it's not really Willow the show. It's, you know, Kit and Alora and all our new favorite characters, right?
Jade and Borman, and how many more can we name?
Yeah.
Flash
Well,
Thompson.
all of
Raiden.
So
Yeah.
here's the thing: if we're gonna get into the show, let's set it up all now. But I'll just say, like, something has happened. I did recommend it to you guys, like, and you know, I told you my father recommended it to me.
Mhm.
That same caveat of like, it's not all there, guys. It's not all there, but you'll like it. I'll just say, guys, like, now I've rewatched all these episodes like 3 times each.
Oh,
and truly,
wow.
like am like super into the show. So I want
You're
to
the number
warn
one Willow fan
all of our
in the world,
listeners
probably.
now.
Right.
We're
Boost
gonna
those
go
numbers.
into spoiler territory. We're gonna talk about the
Right.
whole thing, but also just that heads up of like, I am a homer on this. Like, you know,
Sure.
again, like, we're wrong about these things. You don't have to take our taste to the full way. The same way that I'm like, oh, I didn't like the 80s movie as a kid. Now I watch it and I think it's really quaint. Things change. Your taste changes. And for some reason, this is hit.
Yeah.
I just want to say one last thing about the show.
Please.
Well, about the show.
About the
No,
movie.
about the movie.
I'm saying let's
sorry.
did we like it? Let's give our final general thoughts
yes,
about
please.
the movie,
Did-
right?
You know, it's not amazing. It's not like groundbreaking to me, but it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed watching it. And I just want to say, Val Kilmer as Mad Mardigan, he's a delight. And
He's a delight.
you know, I'm missing me some Val. You know,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, Mad Mardigan, you're the man.
He's the MVP of the movie for me too. I mean, it's great. Like Warwick Davis is 17 years old, maybe he turned 18 during production. Like, he's great. The world is fun, and I appreciate that most of the effects hold up, you know, except for some of the blue screen with the brownies. But I like the use of scale, where we have, you know, Daikini and then
a Nelwyn, we're the littlest people.
no,
we got
there's
even
even littler
smaller
people. But I like when they're like trying to cut the rope
gotta
on the
feel
barrel.
big.
Yeah, like there's little moments like that play with kind of the way the characters interact with the world at different scales that I thought was neat. Swimming in beer. Yeah, they're annoying, the brownies.
He
but,
is
you know.
drunk.
Yeah, he's right. So I think, yeah, it's fun. Not incredible, but I would watch the movie more frequently than I think I do.
I'm gonna turn
You
it
know?
on again in the future. I think I would agree
Yeah.
with that. The name
wish there was
is
a sequel.
again. The name was the issue.
Well.
As kids, I think we all tried to focus on like, oh, it's called Willow. I'm gonna see if I like Willow. I agree with you guys. Watching it now, Mad Mardigan's not only the best part. I would say his romance with Saoirse is what I find the most interesting as an adult.
Yeah.
When he's doing like the poetry and stuff to Joanne Whaley, his real life somebody who
course,
was
yes.
swooning at the time.
Yeah.
They met on the set, right? And they got married, and were married for like 8 years. Got divorced eventually, I think.
Like,
but
Jacob, you imagine the scene where she kicks him in the face on the horse, him just with that theater background and how just like wild and just like crazy Val Kilmer is and in love, just being like, let's do it again. Like, you know, just like improving and like just making her laugh and stuff. And it's like, this is like such a fun, wholesome movie. And it just
they had
really
great
gets
chemistry.
me.
It really is that like Han and Leia dynamic where it's like like Mad Mardigan, he's like a rogue, but he's likable. You know, he's got a heart of gold, and kind of, you know, she kind of is won over by him over time.
Yes, she
she's
is
a
the
princess,
villain
too.
of the. She's Darth Vader essentially, and
true.
revealed
Daughter
to be
of Beth
Princess
Morda.
Leia, Mike.
Right, but she's technically a princess. I'm just saying, yes, she's the right hand of the villain, but she's also the princess. So serves two functions, Leia and Vader.
And General Kale,
right.
this ridiculous Skeletor stand-in.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
And he'll be very important in the show, obviously, too.
Just you wait.
Yep. But so yeah, I think we like Willow the movie enough, right?
I'm somehow we've all turned a corner on it. It's just one of those gems again. I don't know if it's just that we just had, like Mike said, other 80s fantasy movies that it's like, well,
I was
Masters
watching
of the
The Princess
Universe,
Bride a
you know,
lot.
or Princess Bride, or these things where it's like, fuck Willow. But now I'm like, no, leave Willow alone.
I try to
Yeah.
compare, you know, Inigo Montoya and Mad Mardigan now. They're pretty neck and neck. They're both really fun characters. I think Princess Bride
I
is...
like that.
I prefer that movie more, but I think there's a lot of validity in Willow that it's overlooked. Give it a chance, people. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it just has that sense of fun. In like movies in the 2000s, a lot of times they try to be edgy, they try to be dark. This movie, it has dark moments, but it's not trying to be edgy like that, right? It's just having a
Classic
good time.
blockbuster.
Yeah. It's good old-fashioned fun.
Right. Trusting kids to handle a little bit more serious subject matter in that era. you know.
Yeah.
Just be home before dark. But yeah, so that's the movie, and now the new main event, right?
That's right. Now we get the show. So
The
after
Willow
these
awakens.
events, where this
Willow
little farmer
awakens.
who was revealed to actually have some magical ability has saved the baby Allura Dannon from the wicked sorceress Bavmorda. We get this set up where it cuts to in real time, I guess, right? It's been the what? Well, I guess
40 years
can't
for
be,
us. It can't be real
Yeah,
time.
that
It's
can't
not
because
as
those
long
kids can't be
because-
40. Yeah.
Yeah, Laura Dannon would be like 35 now.
We don't know what
Yeah.
age rate is in
It's
Tel
maybe
Aviv.
like a decade before
Okay.
now, I guess. In
It's
real
like
time.
20 years later, let's
Right,
say.
somewhere in
Let's
there.
say, because most of our team cast, but we now get this uprising of a new magical threat has come to Tir Asleen, which the disappeared Willow of Good has warned our kingdom about. But we see the return of Joanne Whaley as now Queen Sorsha of Tir Asleen, who has had to put in hiding Allura Dannon. We'll get to her in a bit. And now has the two troubled children, Eric
Twins.
and Catharatito or something like that, Kit,
Kit.
with Mad Mardigan. So,
Mhm.
guys, first off, Joanne Whaley's back.
That's
Joanne
right.
Whaley's back. Val Kilmer not as back, but yeah. And so now she's raising these twins, I guess. Kit and Eric, who are the princess and prince, obviously. Yeah.
Kind of a flip of the role, Jacob. Instead of like having a prissy princess, we instead have this overdone prince who's sort
Like
of
the
useless, Eric,
Yeah.
arrogant, kind of a prick, in love with a barmaid named Brunhilde, who he calls Dove. And
Don't you call them
is
all
just
Dove?
sort of, well, of course, he's a man of love. He's
Yeah.
an Eros himself, right? And to counterpose that, his sister Kit is the fierce, mad Mardigan warrior who has inherited his skill, has an interest in the blade, but is setting up to be a princess and set up to be married off to a prince of a new kingdom as Tir Asleen is opening up their borders, which they have not done since the incidents of this film.
Right.
Right. I think
And that's
these,
Galadorn, right?
yeah,
That's what's mentioned
Galadorn.
in the
That's
movie.
Flash
Prince
Thompson
Raiden
is
of
the prince.
Galadorn.
Right.
That's right. Tony Ravioli. That's what I
That's
call
right.
him.
That's
I-
right. Tony Ravioli.
I want to mention after watching the movie, having not seen it, and then getting a feel for Mad Mardigan, you know, if he has skill in a sword of steel and a tongue of silver, you know, the son has the poetics that he's throwing on Portia, and then she gets the swordsmanship. And there's also a little bit of the mother in both of them too. You know, she's
Yeah.
she's no slouch when it comes to fighting and stuff too.
Yeah,
and
she got her own fight scenes in the movie as well.
Yeah, so
turned
that-
on her own mom.
yeah, the
She
kids make
uses
sense to
Sorsha's
have those
blade,
parents. Yeah. So I buy it that they've descended
have
from those
Kit.
two.
We have Eric. We have Graydon, which is the prince of Galadorn that's going to be married to Kit. We have Kit's best friend
And training
maybe
partner.
more,
Mm,
Jade,
yeah.
That's
who's
right.
training to be a knight of Galadorn, or she's going to be leaving to be a knight of Galadorn, who was sort of an orphan who was raised by our guy, Ralph Ineson, the
Wow.
Green Knight himself.
Mm-hmm.
And for our last kind of young character, we have, of course, Dove, this kitchen maid who
The muffin girl
maybe
or
more.
whatever.
Yeah,
Muffin
she's
Girl.
a wench. She's an idiot. You know,
She
she's just
bakes.
a blonde ditz, basically. And that's, you know, she's set up as just being a good-natured person who you kind of can't count on. To counterpoint, Jacob, I would say in this first episode, Erin Kellyman, the actress who plays Jade, striking red hair,
Mhm.
great skill with a blade. Again,
you think
an
they're
orphan
setting her up to
background
be,
you're set up. You
yeah.
go, oh, very interesting. And especially with, we know that from the setup of, you know, the speeches Queen Sorsha is giving, Joanne Whaley, of, I put her into hiding, you know, I had to, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
We know Allura Dannon is out there somewhere, but we don't know who she is. This Jade, very interesting. I would certainly
Sure.
never worry about any other character.
Yeah,
And I think that's an interesting
Allura.
way to kind of start it, where Kit is sort of like the main protagonist, right? And it's interesting to start because you know Allura Dannon, the baby in the movie, is going to factor in somehow. You know, I even thought maybe Kit was supposed to be Allura Dannon at first.
I
but,
wondered that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
No, there's
but- yeah.
it's smart, and they're lucky that the one ring was a human baby that they
It's
can 20
cool,
years
Mike.
later. Now we have a mystery on episode 1. Like it's cool to
Right.
do it that way, and they're not tilting their hand, So yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, just like Jacob said with this slow burn reveal, that you're also in modern fantasy hands of everybody has the chosen one prophecy in all media now. It's not even just sci-fi or the works that have spawned out of George Lucas-esque stuff.
Right.
But they know that they can't just do that straightforward. So you are getting what I will just say, and we'll jump ahead to go. Some of these characters go on a quest after Prince Eric is stolen by these new evil forces called the Gales. Don't worry about them because our show doesn't ever want us to worry about them, certainly, because it's not like there's a big fucking battle with them or anything.
Right.
Piece of shit. And they go off and they are set out on a quest to return him. They assemble a new party. We'll talk about one other person real quick. But when we get to the return of our hero, Willow, it's modern storytelling that is sort of a middle class evolution of the character to not go again in the George Lucas route of, well, no, because they do it in the Luke Skywalker route of what they do end up doing of he's fucked up. It's not just the translation of it's been this many years, he has to be the greatest ever. Instead they go, well, we're not going to do that. Instead, we're just going to do great character. And I think that's very effective. So I think that's what this show's about. Great character.
Flashback, we see kind of him and Sorsha's relationship kind of sours because of how they want to raise Laura Dannon. He thinks that she should be training to be a sorceress, while Sorsha is like trying to protect her and keep her hidden. So they have a falling out, right? And he kind of rejects the Daikini, right? And the people of Tir Asleen kind of just goes back to Nelwyn country and just kind of becomes the High Aldwyn, and just tries to look after his own people. Meanwhile, you got all these young characters, like you're saying, they're going out on this quest. And to me, this is what I kind of really liked about this show, is it did feel like a D&D campaign where you have this party of different characters. They each kind of have their own side quest going on that relates back to the main quest in an interesting way, and they're all kind of going through their own thing, but they've got their different strengths and weaknesses, and the party dynamic kind of grows over time. And I think that's probably the strongest part of the show to me.
Agreed.
I think that's a good way to look at it. They're on the quest to retrieve the brother that happens to be tied into bigger forces, right? And then you learn some NPCs. Like Willow's just like a really good NPC in this. He's not a main character.
They're a level 3 party, Mike. A level 10 sorcerer comes in,
gives him the
quest,
has
to train you for part of it.
I can't come with you, or it would be too easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you have all these young kids who are all the daughter or son of someone from the movie, as we kind of find out. But
and one old guy who
is
also in jail,
who is a treasure hunter / mercenary, kind of, who is old friends with Mad Mardigan, who went on this quest with him long ago for the Chimerian Kyros, which is a very important part of this show as well. Right?
Yeah, so we get Borman goes on the quest too, is kind of the bodyguard. We can't just send the kids, send this asshole with
Mike,
him.
So these level 3 guys, you got to send a level 5 barbarian with a 2-handed cleaver.
Yeah,
and
just a fighter out there.
I'm fanning myself.
I love having
his own priorities. You don't know
Yeah.
how faithful he is to the cause. He's kind of doing his own thing. He might kind of turn on them at any second. We don't really know.
Now, that is sort of the injection of my least favorite part is that you have Borman, the roguish barbarian. You have Tony Revolori's Graydon, the roguish artificer / what's
Nerd.
he going to be? Conjurer or something.
He's not a good
eventually.
at fighting, but he's good at reading arcane language.
You have Kit, the roguish paladin, let's say.
You have Willow, the roguish mentor.
Thank you. All these characters are like, you can feel these actors leaning and being like, well, I should say something like Han Solo would say right here, right? And you just want to be like, one of the members of the team has to fully be in the fantasy quest element of it. You can't all just be like, well, that was easy, big eye roll.
So this is my biggest criticism of this show is I think it's the writing. It's not always the best. It's very hit or miss. There are points where I'm like, that's really bad writing. There is the Joss Whedon-y, everyone's quipping constantly aspect of it. using kind of modern slang, modern terms, stuff like that. Kind of takes
Is
me
it
out
the
of it sometimes.
Disneyification of it? Is it the Marvel?
I think so. Like they think, oh, we need like a joke in every scene, or people's attentions aren't gonna, last. But obviously the movie Willow had comedy, but they weren't quipping after every scene.
It had Mad Mardigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Willow was a very, very earnest young man. Here, Willow is just making jokes like all the time, which is fine. But it's the writing quality isn't always the best, and I do like the show overall. But there's some parts where I'm just like, that was kind of lazy writing. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of modern slang and stuff, and like modern needle drops too. I like it at the end of the episode, but in the beginning, in the middle of an episode, so there's something tonally with the writing and how they're trying to position it as because it's a teen show. People are calling it the CW or something. I think I don't mind the tone, the writing, the jokes can miss, but it's like it kind of reminds me of Xena, like a good old Xena. Like it's okay to be lighthearted, but
there's moments where it works for me,
better.
but there's moments where I'm like, I could have done without that. And there's just certain scenes where like there's some convenient writing, like when they go, like when Alora goes off in the woods and meets those two like woodcutting ladies that are wearing
with cowboy hats.
Cowboy hats.
So
and
like,
overalls.
who are they? What are they? What did any of that mean?
How do they tie into anything? Yeah. Right? Is there a culture of cowboy ladies?
Right.
If so, where?
So.
I'm a little confused by the world, but I mean, if they want to have more modern stuff, like even the old fisherman, he's kind of like seems like he'd be from a different era, but
yeah, they all wear denim, which seems to be something that is driving the fan base wild because, of course, in this fantasy world, you wouldn't have denim or boots that on the bottom you can see labels of. Unfortunately, you would have hoped people would have also figured that out.
Which I think
we have
part
Jeans
of that
Man and Mandalorian.
This maybe didn't have the biggest budget in the world,
in
right? So they were doing what they could with what they had. I don't know what the budget was, but it probably wasn't like, straight.
Take the label off the boots, please.
Yeah,
we got to return those.
Shot in location. Mike,
not doing it.
You're talking to me. I send boots out. Shot in location in Wales, I think, is their greatest special effect, Jacob. I think from there
they had to use the volume for some stuff too.
Yes,
right?
100%. I want to talk about those scenes for sure. But you almost have to wonder if, like, the paycheck, how it was spread around, like the talent they hire. I would say Warwick Davis is maybe the best actor in it, and Warwick Davis was the Leprechaun. I would like to remind you, Jacob. So not
he's great,
the greatest actor of all time.
Well, he's the biggest name. I mean, there's all the kids are like people from things like obviously Flash from Spider-Man, like we mentioned. Obviously, there's a big Solo connection with. So Ron Howard directed the movie Solo, A Star Wars Story. Perhaps you've heard of it. Aaron Kellyman was in that.
That's right.
And Warwick Davis was in that in sort of a cameo role. So there's a big connection there. And obviously, Ron Howard directed the original Willow. So I think
he also was in the George Lucas car movie, American Graffiti.
That's right.
Yeah.
As an actor. So they've had a working relationship.
That's probably where they met. Yeah.
Yep. So the
now,
ties
Jonathan Kasdan is the showrunner of this. He's sort of the quote-unquote writer who's sort of doing all these, what I would say, mucking up the universe, Jacob, but also has an interesting style where he kind of does take like the Force Awakens approach, like you're saying, where he goes like, what was that symbol in the background of one scene in the original? Can I turn that into 10 episodes? What was, they say the word worm at one point. Is that, like, can I web out from all that? And his connection, of course, to the Ron Howard of it all is he wrote Solo, which stars this guy, Han Solo, who puts together a crew to do a job where they all kind of sound like Han Solo.
Right. Oh, wow. Yeah, how about that? It's a Woody Harrelson campfire scene. We got that.
Yeah. I'm surprised he wasn't revealed to be a wizard by the end, Mike. I would have loved to see Ron Howard turn into a possum, come out of a tree, and
what was Ron Howard's connection? Was he sort of exec producing this, or was he just...
I think you just get I think, from what I understand, Jonathan Kasdan had one conversation with each of them, Ron Howard and George Lucas. Basically, none of them offered notes because they were like, "Who cares about Willow?" Seems like, and we're like, "Just we recommend you do your own thing and have fun." And he just kind of went from there. So,
well, like you said, there's a lot of expanding of the world building in this, where in the movie, it was sort of in broad strokes. You heard some of these terms, these names like Galadorn or something, but you don't have a connection really to them.
Right.
This show is kind of being an 8-episode, 1 hour each episode. It's much longer than the original movie. So they're like, all right, we really need to expand this world out. And
Kashmir.
kind of
Kashmir.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, the worm, the crone, we kind of find out that Bavmorda was not exactly like the most highest force of evil. She
A
was
pawn
kind of
in a
being,
bigger scheme.
yeah.
Mhm.
So we have this crone who was maybe controlling Bavmorda back in the day and who kind of springs eternal and is now trying to retake the world using Bavmorda's blood, which is Eric and Kit, right?
Who will be the
grandchildren of Bavmorda.
harbinger to bring
Yep.
about the worm. The worm is a creature of eternal evil that feeds on the wellspring of all magic.
Yeah, that's
Again,
the three
Willow
fingers
is
in Elden
explaining all
Ring.
this.
The frenzied flame. They're just gonna.
Yeah.
That's all I could think about was the frenzied flame in Elden
But you're
Ring.
getting Willow saying things like, and of course, when the 4 children who were the original magic users started the bloodline of the world, they started, of course, you, because that's what Bavmorda comes from. And he looks at like what you assume are the Tantalos twins, like that is that bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also points out that Laura Dannon is one of these as well. She is this harbinger. Now let's get our reveal here.
Yeah.
This blonde little mousy idiot that we've been following the entire time is in
She's a great
fact
cook, though.
Mm-hmm.
that's right. But she is not blonde. She is a red-headed, wonderful sorceress named Laura Dannon, and is the child who was put in hiding and kept close at
chosen
all
one.
times.
Mhm.
Stunned, to not get her magical ability to grow. Hair was dyed with lemons every night or some bullshit they say. You were
Oh.
perfectly concealed.
Mm.
If you
and
notice,
we-
her hair turns oranger
By
as the
the end
show
of
goes
it.
on, essentially,
Yeah,
right?
she regains her power, but we see the hero's journey passed on to this new character who was, of course, kind of a star of our original movie. It's little girl Laura Dannon.
Yeah,
It's great.
she was
The chosen one.
carried off by an owl.
Hey, I
Yes.
stole you.
The brownies, they
Matt
stole
Mardigan.
her.
Do you
Yeah.
remember me?
Yeah.
She was on a whole
No, we're not
baby
talking
adventure.
about them.
Yeah, no.
We
I
can't.
And I
will.
think from this, we get sort of the central dynamic between
Yeah.
what is essentially our two main characters now, Kit
Yes.
and Laura Dannon.
Yes.
Each a princess, each kind of on her own journey of like, who am I? And Kit, we find out her whole thing is that like basically her dad, Mad Mardigan, always prioritized Laura Dannon,
Yes.
the most important thing of the future protector of the world, over his own children. And so Kit always felt like he only cared about Laura Dannon, not her.
Right. And then
Really
she's-
interesting stuff, I think.
Yeah, and she's rebellious. She obviously doesn't want to do the arranged marriage. We find out
Yeah.
she has some feelings for Jade later, so that plays into it. But
Yes.
then Jade's going to go away because she's on a thing. So there's a lot going on with Kit where
Yes.
she's not the most likable at the beginning, but the arc
No.
is good. Like you
Yes.
understand.
She does have
right?
a really good arc.
Yes.
Yeah, she was my least favorite character. To
That's the
start with,
point,
'cause
I
she was
think.
just,
Yeah.
she was just very negative, very cynical about everything, complaining all the time. But she's got a lot going on, like you said. Like she's kind of looked past, her brother is kind of,
Her
more
mom
important
doesn't
than
even
her.
see her, right? You got to do the marriage
Yeah.
thing, right? Nobody sees her. Yeah.
Right.
Even though it seems
Except
she's set
Jade.
up to rule. Guys, this is perfect the mirror. This is exactly what I want to talk about. To say, on the other side of that, you have Broomhilda, Dove, Laura Dannon,
Laura Dannon.
Mm-hmm.
who is this character who is like, but I've been told I'm nothing my whole life. Now you're telling me I'm everything. I don't care about that. I'm going on a quest to find the love of my life, Prince Eric. And
Mhm.
instead, she goes on a quest like Kit of self-discovery to discover who she is, who her heart really belongs to, which is, of course, Graydon.
Mhm.
Or in my heart, it's actually
Well-
Kit. We'll see about that.
Right.
I honestly believe in some things there. And just this, I just wanted to ask you both to say, what other show can you even name where you see two complex female characters like this, let alone Jacob just called them the leads of this show, both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Laura Dannon, what I like with her is that she's like, so now Willow's telling her, like, oh, you're the most powerful sort. Like you need to be trained because you have a powerful magic ability. And she's like, well, I can't do magic. And she's like full of self-doubt in the beginning. She really, has to go on this whole journey.
You need to let it go.
Yeah,
Magic's
and
in
then-
you.
The
She's trying to
magic's in
grow this
you.
bush, right? She's trying to grow this berry bush. Doesn't think that she can do it. And then eventually she gets kidnapped, so she doesn't see that she actually did do it. And then the one that sees that she did it is Kit. the one that was super cynical.
The
about
one
it.
who, guess what, has no faith in anything because, like her father in the first film, she has no allegiance to a cause. She only believes in the self, you know, doing things for yourself, exploring for yourself, living for yourself. And Jacob, bad writing. Overall, I think there's a lot I want to talk about of untapped potential, but bad writing, I think. But then you get these moments where, exactly like you said, where you go, that character not being present for her own self-discovery, but to hear it in a moment of boost from the person who is doubting her the whole time is so fucking exciting and fun. And Mike, I just want to throw it over to you again and to say, in the D&D aspect of it all, as DMs, you know, we've played that role before. You just feel imagination being used, don't you? Like, doesn't that just feel like fun fantasy imagination being explored?
And it feels like a good DM who was able to work in the backstories. You know, like they're all weaving together. Yeah. So you have one character who's, like you were saying, completely arrogant and headstrong, completely confident. You have talent and skill. I have both, right? And then the person who doesn't believe in themselves at all, like you said, they're both going on different journeys, but it's towards the same kind of self-discovery destination. I think that's really well done to the way they can challenge each other to grow, even by the reveal, etc. So give it credit for that. A couple bad jokes I'll forgive for those kind of moments.
Yeah,
you know?
No, that's why I said I think this writing is very hit or miss because there are some really strong parts and some parts that I didn't like as much. But I'll say this, I think, and then even with Graydon, Jade, and Borman, like they all have their own side quests they're going through in this season. And I'll say this, I think that this is a better continuation of an original than The Force Awakens is of Star Wars, where they have these new characters. Finn, what's Finn's story over the 3 movies? You know, what's Poe's story? Like they don't get these side quests. Like this is such a much better setup of like a new generation of cast than the new Star Wars movies were, you know?
And it's just weird because it's named after a guy who's barely in it. But you know, Alana Dorn, whenever she gets little Yoda training stuff with Warwick, you know, Davis, you know, trying to teach her the magic. Lift up the X-wing, you know, like, come on.
We get moments later once they're trapped, once they're taken by the trolls, right? And we're gonna meet the dumb brownies. Who cares about all that? But where literally he says, "I don't have Shellandrella's wand. I don't have my staff. I can't get out of this." We get again the equivalent that the great strength of Willow is not going to be that he did end up becoming a great sorcerer. It's that he is a good teacher. He's a good person.
Yeah, they say like, oh, he's not a great sorcerer. Like he's an okay sorcerer at best, basically, but he's got a great heart and like
he
you said,
mainly has to use a flamethrower that is science that he has put together to rely on to do anything. And then at the end, he's like, I guess I'll shoot lightning. Like I kind of know how to do that.
Right. But he doesn't have the potential that Elora Danan has. But,
no.
Yeah. So I really like our main cast. And you know, these younger actors, they may not be great actors, but I think they all play their part really well.
Yes.
I think Borman is great. Like Borman is the character that should be the Mad Mardigan who's, you know, the rogue and making jokes and stuff. Right?
And he does that enough, you know what I mean?
He does.
His name is Todd or whatever, and he's very self-conscious about it.
You're taking me away, tying me up. I think that is what I want. All that stuff when we get to the Bone Reavers and stuff.
And like,
so his quest as the
former squire
Mardigan, the former squire who has betrayed, we're going to find out, and is obsessed with this item, Jacob, because he believes it will bring him redemption. Again, we get this great payoff. The redemption's not for him. It is for someone he needs to protect, who this person he has let down would want him to protect, right? Mm-hmm. That's great.
That's right.
But there are so many characters who are set up, you're saying, as the Mad Mardigan, but just also the great fighter of the group. My issue between him, Jade, and Kit is that they all have badass weapons. They're all literally
unique too.
You're going to be unique, awesome weapons. You're going to be the fighter of this crew, and then you never really get to see them do badass fight scenes. It usually plays out exactly like this: block with your sword, block with your sword. Hey, I thought this was going to be easy. Third block with your sword. Camera sweeps away. We hear that they won the fight.
Right.
That's every episode.
Yeah, except for that one
great fighters. Yeah, but I think that's part of the D&D party of it all, where like they're all really competent at their specific roles, Graydon, he's not a fighter, but he can read arcana and do eventually magic and stuff. So he's like a junior sorcerer to Alora Dannon.
He's a level 1. He's a level 1.
Yeah.
They started at 3. He didn't have a class yet.
He gets
Well,
a
he gets
level in
possessed
one.
too many
Mike.
times.
He took a level in arcana.
Yes, that's right. He gets negative for necromancy damage.
That's
You're
right.
It's incredible.
I think he's the group member that kind of takes his longest to fit into like a certain role. But I do like his relationship with Alora Dannon by the end, where he's kind of a supportive friend to her, and is also like in love with her. But he's also like, I know like you're in love with Prince Eric or whatever, but like, you know, I'm there for you as a friend and everything. And
switches up the pining, you know, again, this hero's journey and the YA of it all. You just know that they're going to set up this triangle and just have it be like, I look away from afar while you kiss him.
Yeah.
No. The confidence, because here's his character, to talk about Graydon for a second.
Yeah.
Every interaction he has over every episode is him asking, sometimes even the female characters, every member of the party, what does it mean to be a man? And he discovers by the end episode, there is no answer to that. And by breaking the mold and becoming a good person, it ends with Willow saying, you're going to be a great sorcerer, but an even better man, because I know that. And you see this exploration. So Jacob, that moment perfectly highlights it all of, I'm not just this pining person anymore. I've matured. I'm a battle partner for you now. But also, I love you. And I understand you have this other thing, but I need to say that because that's my truth. And at this end fight we're going to talk about, but the crone basically saying, that guy was honest. His magic was pretty good. You do understand that because that was Graydon's journey the whole time.
Right. And in the end, he, spoiler alert, kind of sacrifices himself trying to save Alora, fails, but then we see he may still be around in the next season.
He wants his MTV.
So there is.
He was
yeah. Talk about it, anachronistic song choices, but
yeah.
That guitar riff is so sick, though. You just have to imagine the guy being like, it's worth it.
It's in.
Yeah.
He was my least favorite character early on. I think I remember texting like, man, I like this show. Pretty much it's working for me, except Flash Thompson. I'm not digging his performance. But the way you
did take a little longer to kind of figure out who.
By the end, I did
right.
really enjoy him. And even the fact that he's just like, like he gets chewed out by Kit in the very beginning. Like he's at the bottom of the hierarchy as far as his coolness and having purpose.
Failure.
Yes.
Right.
Him and Borman are the only ones who are assigned, who you're like, you don't want them to be part of the crew.
Right. And he's very
Kit's
timid, like
this
you said.
Tomboy lesbian, like we said, who is being forced to marry this guy who she could easily kick his ass, right? So he feels emasculated by his own arranged wife.
And he's also like kind of cool with her, but like I know like this isn't ideal. We're gonna have to do it though,
I don't
right?
want this either.
Yeah, like why are you chewing me out? Like I didn't plan this either, you know? So he grew on me, and his arc is satisfying, I think, by the end too. So writing, they're doing it.
When he's nice to the Mudmander, Mike, I'm like, I want you to be like the druid of the crew. Or the Beastmaster. Like, I want you to just be like the guy who has like empathy or something. And it's this slow burn to get there.
Yeah. He could be, him and Warwick would just fit right in on Ishiniran or whatever. They're just good.
Yes.
They're just
he's
good.
kind of the Willow of this group. Like he's the young Willow, where he's like he's good. He can do magic, but it's not going to be his main thing. Like he just has a big heart, and I think that's great. Yeah.
But has to have rock hard abs and say things like, "Whoa, did you see?" It's like
that'll be later.
Totally, just hot it up. But let's keep going through. We were talking about Aaron Kellyman a bit. So Jacob, you were talking about it works well because of the connections. So let's reveal now. She is, of course, this abandoned child from this war tribe who were the Bone Reavers, who were absorbed to become the Knights of Nagora, whatever Bavmorda's evil people were. But her father is General Kale, who was sort of, like we said, a pseudo Darth Vader of the film.
Yeah, he was kind of the lieutenant to
heavy.
Bavmorda. Yeah, he had a cool skull mask.
His sources
in the original movie, he was named General Kale after movie critic Pauline Kael, as sort of a dig from Lucas to Pauline
That's
Kael.
bullshit.
Oh, the two-headed monster was named like Siskey, or it's like a Siskel and Ebert reference.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Come on.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
But General Kale, not a super important character in the movie.
No.
He's a baddie who eventually gets killed by Mad Mardigan, which is another thing that they kind of draw on in the show, where it's like, oh, your dad killed my dad. It's like
creates
it's
an
okay.
interesting tension for two characters that are trying to become a couple.
Yeah, and then she gets the position of official knight or protector, and the first woman to ever get that position. So she's got to go away, and that creates
right. So she's essentially kind of kidnapped by these knights of Tir Asleen, who she's then raised by believing the Bone Reavers are bad. The Bone Reavers, they're more like gray. They're not totally bad. They're kind of doing their own thing in the woods. But we find out her sister is now like the leader of these Bone Reavers.
Scorpionox.
Yeah, I think her name's Scorpia or something.
Scorpina's the one from Power Rangers.
Scorpina or yeah. And then she is the love interest, of course, of Borman. So of course every party member has to be have a love interest.
That's right.
So yeah, it's
very
all
Jack
very,
Sparrow
very nice.
slapped in the face moment for Borman, kind of. Where took you so
but
long?
we get again the Captain Ballantyne, Ralph Ineson. Shout out both of you who absolutely love Ralph Ineson for some reason. Me too. He's the father of the Vavitch. It should have been Academy Award nominated.
He needs to be in every period or fantasy everything because he's just got
him
the face and the voice.
Dougal McKenzie or whatever, that guy who played Dougal McKenzie.
But my issue is he is, of course, Captain of the Watch. He's possessed. He gets wrapped up with these Gales. Again, they don't really matter in the grand schemes of this show, unfortunately. Right. He presents to Aaron Kellyman's Jade character before they leave, this is a weapon that was made for blah, blah, blah. It's one of a kind. Here you go. Mike, what is it? We don't really ever get to kind of see her use or like there's no final showdown in the episode. Is it? It unsheathes at one point, so I know it's not just a pole arm. Do you have any idea what it is?
It's like a long sword that has like a long.
Is it a spear? Is it like a glaive?
It's kind of like a
short.
Like it's got a long pole, but it's got like a sword blade on it.
So it's like a naginata almost.
Okay, it's not a club, which is what I thought it was the entire time.
No, it's got a blade on it like a sword.
Okay. But it's just,
I
again,
like Borman's weapon the best.
Yeah,
the cleaver is the coolest.
Yeah.
But to stay on Jade real quick, she says to Kit at one point, all these times that we've been sparring, I've actually been holding back because I am the greatest fighter in Tir Asleen. And once again, another character is positioning themselves to be the most badass fighter with a cool one-of-a-kind weapon that we will never see fully get utilized.
Yeah, she says she's holding it back against Kit, who, of course, is also a good fighter, as we see in the end. But to protect, obviously, the princess, she didn't want to hurt her. So, and also she has feelings for her. Yeah.
Right,
right.
I'm going to call it a naginata, Mike. Is that what we're settling on?
We'll sub it as a naginata for now. Listeners, tell us if we have it. There's
a cool weapon.
But you guys like the cleaver the best. I agree.
I like the cleaver, which is Borman's sword. And then Kit has a cool sword, too. That's kind of like an ornate sword.
She has Sorsha's original sword from the first movie, the spiked blade curvature, almost a scimitar. And, of course, Jacob, she levels up with the power of love and friendship and does retrieve the sword of Mad Mardigan. Yes, right. And, of course, the Kyrian Cuirass.
Yeah, she does her
actual level up.
She does her morphin time.
If you notice, so... A fun reference to the movie when she has the Chimerian cuirass that becomes a whole suit and it has a blade in the arm that comes out. She's double fit, so she's got the blade in one hand and Mad Mardigan's sword. Yes. Mad Mardigan had that in the movie. He had that like blade glove thing, and he was double fisting.
Right.
So she's doing the same fighting style that Mad Mardigan was doing in the movie.
Yeah. She does the sword flip. If when you watch the movie, you realize how good of a job. I believe this girl Ruby Cruz is the actress's name. Is just absolutely nailing the Mad Mardigan of this whole thing.
Yeah.
She's really good.
She's good. Laura,
and then when we have action.
Yeah, I thought she was fine. Like Laura kind of grew on me over time. Where I first
she's my favorite character. It's hard because I like who she becomes. I do not like how she starts. And I guess, again, that's the point.
Yeah, they got to give her an arc. But I think the whole party's pretty strong as a party and how they kind of grow together. We didn't even mention Silas, which is Willow's little buddy that unfortunately dies along the way in a great fight. I don't know if he was in the original because in the movie, there's his best friend is Migosh, right? And I was hoping that they would have Migosh. But
he's got another friend now.
But his name's Silas, and he's a good fighter too. As we see, he's got his little daggers. Unfortunately, he dies in a battle, and I was really sad when he died because I thought
Yeah.
he was great at keeping Willow in check with like his ego and stuff.
Yes.
And just another great side character.
Yeah, yeah. I think everything's fine except the Cowboys. It's
There's
not
there's
their
some
fault.
moments. There's some just specific
Yeah.
like moments that I'm like so Jade and Kit are having like this really emotional moment where they're like a kiss and everything in the woods, and then all of a sudden a troll grabs Kit from behind
Yes.
and kidnapped her. It's just like that's like lazy. Like what,
Yes.
you didn't hear that troll until he was right behind you?
The trolls never
You
work
know?
for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Here's bad character comedy throughout because again I think it leans too much on the I'll have what she's having almost
Mhm.
retorty
Yeah.
style
It's
quips like you're saying.
self-aware.
Excuse
Yeah.
me.
The power of the character comedy that comes through. I think when Alora Dannon and Kit are locked up by the trolls or the Bone Reavers and have to, she's using Shelandrill's wand. It's not working. Alora Dannon, she's this ditz this whole time. She's too friendly. She's too nice. What a downfall for her. So, of course, what an idiot thing that she would think. Looking at the wand, rubbing it off, she does a couple blows to clean it and goes, okay, now it'll work. Turns, blows the door off. They go flying backwards. She lands on the ground for a beat. Her and Kit are like knocked out. That's great. That works because you're playing to exactly who that character is. But then you've got just the quip machines coming in where right after that, like Willow will be like, Willow's the worst of it all. Willow has really changed. He has truly, like, from Boorman, I want it because it's like, I guess this is Boorman's role in it. Or you could have made Boorman super serious and have the jokes come later when it's revealed, like, everybody used to call him skinny and all that stuff. Like, making him vain, that's funny. No,
Yeah.
we don't really do that. Instead, it's mainly him being like, "Oi, look at that," or like, "Watch out for this one," and just like you're just like, oh.
And Willow like oh, we need to get in the wagon, and then the wagon blows up. He's like, on second thought, let's not get in the wagon.
Not that wagon.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know,
very.
Willow wasn't.
That one's a
yeah.
piece of junk. Junk will do.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
But
the
Willow wasn't
machine
making
that
jokes
prints
like
out
that
their
in the movie.
script, him taking out and going like, "Does this work?" And
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy, everybody over there at Lucas goes, "Yes, it does."
Sure.
And I mean, this
You're
is is Warwick Davis's like highest profile role, and him getting to, all right, I'm the fucking Obi-Wan now. Like I'm the mentor.
Excuse me, he played the Leprechaun 13 times, I believe.
Yeah. He played the Leprechaun. He played
Quality, not
Professor
quantity.
Flitwick in Harry Potter. right?
yeah.
But he doesn't get to be the leading man that much.
No.
So he's not in this, but he's the older mentor, which is good enough.
But he
I
would
guess.
not be joking though. Like even in the original,
You
the
wouldn't
closest
know.
thing to a joke he does is, "I'll throw this acorn at you." And
Yeah.
it's like,
It's
Yeah.
mainly him talking about how much he
My old
loves his family
disappearing
and
rabbit
friends.
trick.
yeah,
And
we're great
when
sorcerers.
he is
but
talking about mims and stuff, like that's the times where I was like, this is Willow. He loves
Yeah.
people. He loves his family.
He loves his family.
mm-hmm.
Which, and then maybe this is going to be for later seasons. I want to know like what happened to his wife and his son, because we see
And
his
his daughter. He has 2 kids. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. We see his daughter.
We see his daughter, who in this show is played by Warwick Davis's actual daughter.
That's right.
Wow.
So that's cool.
That is cool.
But we
I
don't
hadn't
see his
realized
son and his wife, and I think he kind of hints at something might have happened to them, but maybe that'll be explored later on.
Yeah, because he was like a big family guy in the movie too. It's like
Yeah.
that was kind of his thing.
Yeah.
I want to learn magic, and I have a family.
He wanted to get rid of this baby and pass it off to a Daikini so he could go home to his family and keep living his life.
Wait till next year to pick the right finger.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
The high Aldwin.
he does, and Warwick Davis personally, he's doing fine against some of the writing. It's good to see him in this role, and like again, he's kind of the Yoda to, Alana Doran. I can't remember the names, man.
Alanis
Laura
Morissette, you're
Dannon.
right.
Yeah, Laura Dannon in Tel Aviv is Alanis Morissette. He's doing the Yoda stuff.
person.
Yeah, teach her to lift a
Yeah.
rock, and it's cool to see him in a mentorship role now, where he was being mentored
But
in the
he's-
first movie.
Yeah, but he's also got kind of a reluctance where he's kind of unsure of himself. And even in the end, when they're all making faith to go to the immemorial city, he turns back. He's like, I need to go home. Like, this is for you young people. But then in the end, he comes back and saves them, right?
Yeah.
With his little
Yeah.
staff.
That's a Luke Skywalker thing too, though, from like the Last Jedi and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't believe in
it's
myself after saving the galaxy. It's like the same beat, you know.
Right.
It's to me an unfortunate abandonment of what I liked about the first one, which is that he defeats Bavmorda with a trick or his intelligence, the pig trick, right, and sort of outwits her. And this, the old Willow would outwit somebody, but now it's just like, do you want to have a Harry Potter slash, fucking Star Wars? Everybody's magic has their own color that looks super cool.
They should have had Laura Dannon come up with Shalindria's wand and give it to him. He just throws it over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker style, right?
It should have shot a green blade out of the end of it, Jacob. And you go,
yeah.
And then Kit could have been absorbing evil blue lightning with her two blades crossed, you know?
Right.
That would have been super
His
sick.
somehow
big secret.
Bavmorda returned.
Mad Mardigan's, oh man, Sith Clone and Mad Mardigan speaking to her. Use the Force, Kit.
It was all for you, kid.
Right.
What?
But Colin, you're right. Like, his big secret is that he's not a great sorcerer, and he defeated Bavmorda with a trick, essentially, in her own. Like, she just kind of stumbles over her stuff in the movie and dies, and he kind of lives off that reputation as now High Alduin, where people thought, "Oh, you defeated the mighty Bavmorda, so you must be a great sorcerer." And he's like, "Well, I kind of just tricked her, and I'm not really that good at magic, so."
They acknowledge it in the possession episode. He has that great line, I didn't beat you with magic. I'll beat you the same way I did last time with my friends. And then we get our main trio of supporting characters kind of burst through. You just get this great shot. It's just their imagery like that. And then I want to transition to, I guess, should I just do 20 minutes on what I think is one of the greatest achievements in television, the 7th episode, Beyond the Shattered Sea, which has imagery like the what you could just literally, I hope they sold the show on, the silhouetted backshot of your party together on that mirrored glass ground, of Wales, where you're getting that incredible vast, sky that just reflects forever, and you can just see what every member of your party is. Or again, that moment of them bursting through and doing the action scene, and the very limited bit of the James Horner score from the original movie that they sort of pipe in to, really pump you up. Or when I'm like, damn, Mike, I don't watch that fucking Amazon D&D cartoon Vox Machina or whatever the fuck that's called. I watch fucking this shit,
Willow,
because this is what I picture in my mind fucking happening when I'm like, all right, Jacob rolled a 5. Now we all have to gather around for a charisma pose shot or something.
Yeah.
And they have their little big.
Yeah.
And they have a little side quest where they spend a night in Bavmorda's castle, and they have to go through stuff. And they're in the mines with the trolls, and
people are finding equipment constantly, like key items where it's like, this is the thing that powers the Chimera Curious. I have 1 of 3 now. To find the other 2 pieces, I'll have to travel north. Like, you can just imagine like a map coming up, Mike, and you're like, like a little red X appearing in the distance. It's
little side quests. And I guess we will be able to compare it to official D&D stuff soon, because they have that movie coming out, and there's a different show.
So true.
That is probably not even going to be related to the Chris Pine movie, but it's also D&D show.
Yes, we will have the Gang of Thieves or whatever it is called. We will.
Yeah,
that's what Wizards of the Coast CEOs call themselves.
Well, yeah,
that's the new news. Got them.
Yeah, we might be boycotting that. We'll see.
Yeah, we will destroy you. You're all powerful sorcerers. Okay, Wizards, watch out.
Yeah, they're getting too greedy, right?
They are indeed. But that's neither here nor there. We will have more D&D content. But you're right, Colin. This is dead on. Even the way some of I've seen people complaining, because I don't know why more people don't like this show. Like, oh, everything's too convenient. It's like, well, in a D&D group, everything's going to be related to one of your characters, because it has to be.
Right.
Like, it's fine.
The session
it supports the story.
Also.
Yeah, and it's a group story for everybody in the party. And, everybody in the party has a function here. It's perfect.
Totally.
Yeah.
You got the sorcerer's apprentice, Graydon. You got Borman, the treasure hunter. It all kind of fits together in the end, and they're all their side quests come together.
Paladin leading the crew, her fighter steed, her trusted fighter at her side. You've got fucking, I don't know. Again, we talked about it. A halfling assassin who kind of gets killed halfway through, and then a halfling wizard who's just fucking blowing stuff away.
Level 20 NPC.
And so in this final episode, you get you get the stagecraft stuff, Jacob. We get this again. You're feeling this sort of like feel of like, okay, it seems like all Lucas properties going forward have to have like this type of humor, this type of plotting. Should this have been a movie? Who knows? We'll talk about that too, I guess, at the end here. But yeah, like instead it's a protracted TV show, and we're going to use the volume, this sort of stagecraft look. But you also get practical sets, which are the little Welsh man's fishing hut, right? You get a physical puppet for the Mudmander that looks gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get the use of the stagecraft, which I think, in my opinion, goes beyond how Mando has used it, where instead of going like, well, we want to make very realistic backgrounds of like, you can see Jabba's palace in the distance. So now you as an actor, Jacob, can go, oh, Jabba's palace is up there. Oh, I've got the eye line. Oh, we got to walk up to Jabba's palace. And that's the fucking scene. And instead, you get the Shattered Sea, this huge landmark that has been built up this entire show, and you get this use of it that is, we will make every scene look fake. We will have one scene where our two lead characters are having a heated discussion about how my dad liked you more than me, and you should have left me to drown in this water, and the sky will be stars, and the bottom will be stars, and that is all you will see as these two people look like they are lost in space having a conversation. And then the next scene will be a months-long training montage of a completely purple sky as you get this fucking visually striking look to it. I fucking loved that.
Yeah, I thought the way they used it or integrated it into real sets was really well done. Like in the Immemorial City, like a lot of that's a physical set, but then the horizon like it just goes on and on. Like obviously that's got to be volume, right? Like there's no location that actually looks like that. And it's just a way to kind of make it look like it cost more than it actually did, probably. And I think that's the way the volume should be used, where it's kind of enhancing real sets, but it's integrated in a way that doesn't become super noticeable, and it just kind of enhances things, right?
Yeah. When you're in Tatooine and there's no foreground objects, it's a little rough. You know? But to extend this physical set element there to a degree, stuff like that helps. But visually, the show does look pretty good. And as they get more towards shit going crazy, like I take one more step to be farthest from home I've ever been for all these characters. You feel like the campaign progressing towards this threat, this more they encounter more magical things. Like, just like the original movie.
And like the visuals are matching the storytelling, Mike. The final falls scene of that episode, where it is just a release of emotion and breakdown, and you have some people, like Jacob said, not wanting to take that leap of faith, and our two lead characters step up and are basically crying after mending their relationship and getting everything out. And one of them says, you know what to do. I'll do it with you, because they know it'll make it easier for each other. And they embrace. I screamed out kiss. I will be honest about that. Not in a pervy way, but I was so wrapped up in the emotion. And then when they dive off, again, that's the volume. I mean, that's just an additive weird. They're just in an endless void with a wind machine on them. But you feel the stakes.
And you have Kit and Alora jump first, and then the two people that are in love with them, Jade and
to rush
Raiden.
Forward.
Right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
But even like what you said with the Shattered Sea episode, when they're just kind of, losing patience with each other on this long journey across the ocean, where they're all cramped into this cabin, and they're kind of like getting annoyed because they're just like, man, like, are we like, who even knows if it's out there? Like, we're just going towards the edge of the world, basically. And yeah, just the group dynamic is really strong, I think.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. In that end of that 7th episode, I was like, I thought I'd watched the whole series. I didn't realize that it had there was one more week coming. So I was like, dang, that's a crazy cliffhanger. And then to get episode 8, I was like, oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, like you said with Alora and Kit, their relationship has grown. Now they trust each other. They believe in each other. And we find out that this was Mad Mardigan's plan the whole time. The Chimerian cuirass kind of figures in because we find out that Kit is the one to make it work, because she is Alora's protector. And that's what Mad Mardigan wanted to happen. the whole time.
Yeah.
Obviously.
We skipped the inclusion of other 80s icon
Christian Slater. That's
as
right.
Allagash, sort of the
Allagash.
other squire, or maybe just partner to. You have to.
Yeah, he was
You have to wonder why Eric's name is an Allagash, Jacob.
right. So we find out, they go into this troll dungeon where they're mining. They take all the prisoners there. We meet Allagash, Christian Slater, who was part of Mad Mardigan's party when they were searching for the Chimerian Cutlass, cuirass, whatever.
Happens to be in this very prison, in this troll cave where they are mining. They escape. We get to this famous Nelwyn's burial tomb, who has the cuirass. But inside Jacob as well is to talk about what you were saying, is leading to it all is what Mad Mardigan is doing. Why Val Kilmer is not in this is that he has left his body behind to journey through a door that leads to the other side, where he has become the sword of Elora Danan, and all of this has been set up Kit as the shield of Elora Danan.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Dang.
So you hear all that.
I've only seen these episodes once.
But Mike, again, I've watched these 3 times. Even now, I
thank
nod
you.
and go, that means nothing. Like, it is. They are just throwing these terms, but it's fantasy world building. He's, the worm. We're getting again this big idea that he is this creature of hell or another side. So Mad Mardigan knows that he has had to go beyond the pale to fight in the physical world. Left his sword behind because he knows where he goes, a sword would do him not, or some bullshit like that.
Right.
But the main thing is he has chosen to leave the physical world, literally, his kids, his wife, the people he loves behind, to protect what he believes is a spiritual cause, which is this little girl that his daughter is friends with.
And this is
that's what Warwick Davis did in the first movie. He leaves his family. Anyway.
Right. And after that is when Kit has her big moment where it's like, so Allagash sacrifices himself so they can escape, and he's like, your dad only wanted to protect one thing. What's
He's
that?
wrong about
Elora
this.
Danan.
He's wrong. He's wrong. When
yeah.
he says
and then Kit has
he
the
left
breakdown.
behind a power with you to protect what matters, I think he's just inferring that he means Elora Danan. I think what Mad Mardigan's saying is, my loved ones, I want you to protect your mother. I want you to have the power.
Well, he wants to protect Elora
yourself.
Danan because Elora Danan is the savior of the world, essentially. So if you believe in the prophecy that Elora Danan is going to save the world, then you know that she's the most important thing to the world. So to protect Elora Danan is to protect the entire world.
So you're an Elora Danan truther. You are admitting it here. You do follow the prophecy.
But then I think that's the great moment that Kit has where she's like,
yes.
Why does my dad always choose you over me? And then she falls in that orange water, and
right. Well, it's like it's not necessarily fair, but it's like at the stake of the whole world, and he was tasked with protecting Elora for like ever since he met up with Warwick Davis back then. So he knows how important it is to the realm,
he comes
right?
around.
And it sucks. And you know what, Kit? Sometimes it's not about you. And she needed
sometimes
to get
you're
that.
not the main character,
right?
Even though you are the main character, like
that's what Borman discovers. He literally says out loud, "I found out I'm not the main character."
Yeah, right. So,
he redeems himself because he, obviously betrays, or him and Allagash both betray Mad Mardigan at one point, and they both feel bad about it. Christian Slater was great though. I loved his little cameo, and the way he introduces himself. He says, "Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Mad Mardigan." But of course, Willow knows that he's not Mad Mardigan. And
you're
so
not Mad Mardigan. You're Allagash.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very funny little role for him. And good show.
Good show. I don't know why people are
sums it up
giving it so much shit. I don't know if you guys have seen, but there's a lot of the same. It's either woke or terrible or more shit. It's that kind of stuff.
You get a lot of the woke bullshit. I will say my own personal gripes are to never hear anyone be like, oh, it's horrible what happened with Ballantine ever again. You never get a resolving fight with the Gales, who are sort of the ring race to the entire thing the entire time. When literally you again have 3 Gales and a shot of our 3 sub-heroes who match their forms of fighting like perfectly. No, we're not going to get
that should have been in the finale. But Colin, not even Ballantine, but remember the first old guy that they go out with?
Jacob?
Yeah.
Queen Sosha, I must go on this quest because, of course, Prince Eric, I raised him as a son, for I have none my own.
Yeah.
That character
Gets
dies,
shot
and
by the
there
Bone
is
Reavers.
no
They never mention
of him ever again.
And he dies for a joke, essentially. He's like, you got to be careful out here in the wild. And then,
Oh yeah.
For all this talk of how much the Jonathan Kasdan and the writers team go like, let's mine this, there are all these things where you could be like, honor that guy, honor the characters you put up, have it's funny that her name is Broomhilda, have a joke about it, but then have it be revealed that it's like that was the name of the woman who stole Laura Dannon out and saved her life in the first place by putting her in the boat. I wanted to honor that woman by naming you Broomhilda. Have once again, be sincere to what you are setting up, and I promise you will find success in your storytelling.
Yeah, I think my main issue is just, like I said, inconsistent writing, where there's some moments that I think are really strong, and then some moments like that where it's like missed potential, and then you have these weird scenes like the woodcutting women, which
go nowhere, do nothing.
Like,
he didn't know you were having a session
is...
that day. The DM was just like, woodcutting
You're in the
women.
Woods. You meet two woodcutters. Oh, I think they're magical.
Overalls.
I'm gonna stay and talk to them. And Mike, that's when your thing where your player characters keep talking to an NPC you made, and you're like, just leave him. He's
just
not.
Leave
I
him.
just
right.
This guy.
And so then you bring in some trolls to kill him and to get the fuck out of here.
Okay, yeah, like I have to move things along.
Go. And you rolled a table to create them, like, and cowboy hat. I rolled
that
a
is
17.
Hannah Gab. That's the woman from Ted Lasso or whatever.
Right. She gets this monologue. She gets a cool battle axe in a fight scene and then dies.
Yes.
And I think their only purpose really was to show innocent people dying for Laura Dannon, for her to realize, like, oh shit, people are dying or whatever. But very random.
And then atypical. You have Julian Glover, the amazing actor from a ton of Lucas stuff, but Maester, what was his name?
Of course, the Grand Maester.
Pycelle? Is that Grandmaster Pycelle or whatever?
Nice.
From that, who plays the Paladin of Kashmir, it's revealed or whatever, who starts his monologue by saying, we're all in the dream of a turtle. And he's having this like LSD, like dementia talk.
Yeah.
Like, this,
well, I think
we gotta move.
Right. I kind of tie that into, I think that he was searching for the Princess of Kashmir, who is that girl that tricks Eric,
who I believe is the crone. I think just
Oh.
was the crone originally, because we hear, if you guys remember, Aaron Kellyman and Jade and Kit's first conversation is, there was, let me tell you my favorite story. There was once a princess of Kashmir who didn't want to marry, any man, so she became a great warrior herself. Three times we hear the story of a princess of Kashmir, including from a girl who says, I am the princess of Kashmir. Yeah. And like, here's my story. There were people in Kashmir
a long time ago.
Learned
because Julian
stuff,
Glover
but
was
we
like a knight.
don't
he's
know.
like a super old man. Yeah.
And it seems like her abuse of magic has made her the quote-unquote crone immortal, right? But she wants to appear as this young, I guess,
Either
Frida
that
Kahlo
or
was
she
the actress
was-
who played her.
Yeah, Frida, yeah.
I think it was.
But either she is the crone or she was like originally possessed by the crone back in the day and has just been sort
Is
of a
another one
vessel
of
for the
these
crone.
4
Like
children, the
Bavmorda.
blood of 4 children that she's after? Could be. That none of that's, I don't know any of it.
But of course, the show ends with the Book of Willow, Volume 1 being closed and
This is
put
what I
on
wanna
a
talk
shelf
about.
with 2 other volumes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The most desperate plea for a renewal I have ever seen in my life. God bless them, because I do think they need to make that known, that they're like, we do have more to tell, and we could wrap it up easily, I promise. But Jacob, my question is, does that mean the movie is also included in that first volume, or wouldn't the first volume be
the prologue.
movie? This one would be the second, and then they would go, and a third story.
Right.
Yeah, naming conventions are crap now. By the way, the crone, or the Princess of Kashmir, is played by Rosabelle Laurenti Sellers, one of the Sand Snakes from Game of Thrones as well.
Okay.
A lot of Game of Thrones actors.
How about that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Julian Glover, Ralph Ineson, of course.
Yeah.
And a lot of solo actors, like I said. Aaron Kellyman also was in that Winter Soldier
show
that we didn't like that much.
But a better use of her here, where it's like, she doesn't need to be the star. She can be the supporting player and have a good meaty role.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, I think it's a good and valid show. There's issues with it, but it's It's better
For
than
sure.
Rings of Power. Like, at least I want more of this. Like, I want the
Yeah.
2 more seasons, and maybe then we can get the stuff with the Gales, because they were super awesome at the beginning. I'm like, look at these Dark Souls enemies. This is crazy. And then they
Mike.
really don't exist at all.
Such a
Also, that
letdown.
big guy
So
played
give us
by
more.
Junis Suetomo, who played Chewbacca in all the new Disney movies.
That's right.
Obviously,
Also a
he was
rogue
also
actor
in Solo.
or a solo actor.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, 3 actors from Solo in this movie, in the show.
Too
But
many.
of course, in the end, we get Graydon sacrifices himself. We
That's
see that
right.
he's not dead. He's maybe in some kind of dream now, and we see.
Well, I would assume, like Mad Mardigan, he has been blasted, quote unquote, beyond the pale now, and his spirit body is, yes, maybe up against.
He's astral
I think they're
projected
gonna-
now.
So,
Yeah.
what do we think about, what could the next season, what could happen? Any predictions?
Evil Elora Danan is appearing to him. I would say that is a projection from the Worm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Just
Yep,
like
yep, yep.
Eric
Is
was being
the
tricked
worm.
earlier.
Yeah.
Also in that scene, so you see, Elora Danan, short hair, and
Red,
see all
very
the
red hair.
things out
She's
in
badass.
all the
Monsters
forces
and
fighting
stuff.
out there, and you see the 2-headed dragon from the movie.
yes,
in
yes,
that
Yep.
of
shot.
course.
Yeah.
Which I didn't
Robert
realize
Sis-
that till after, because I watched them
Sis
backwards.
Goldberg, you taught me now.
Yes.
We get
it.
Skiber.
So, look, we get these awesome moments of the Chimeran Curious powers up, Kit puts on an Iron Man armor, like you said, gets this fucking sword, gets a fucking blade.
It's
The
our
whole
magical
fight-
girl anime moment. This is Sailor
Awesome.
Moon. Like,
She
let's
gets
transform.
a Sailor Moon dress
Heck
up.
yeah.
You're totally right. Now, if we had had other fights, if Borman literally hadn't said, leave the Gales to me and shut the door behind you, this fight would be cool. That the whole premise of it is that she is now fighting her possessed brother. The crone is defeated in this magic duel by Elora Danan. After Graydon's sacrifice, she has enough internal magic to be shooting green lightning out of her fucking hands, Jacob, at this fucking big CGI fucking what's the
Junis
goal?
Suetomo.
No, but what's the guy, what's Andy Serkis's character in the Star Wars movies who likes gold, the weird twisted head guy? What's his name?
Oh, jeez.
Snoke.
Snoke, yeah,
Yeah, the light's gold,
This
yeah.
magic lightning Snoke. She's
Yeah.
having this fucking battle with Snoke.
Prone.
That goes up. The crone possesses the brother, and you get like what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay,
You are
this
the
is like
Harbinger.
he's the Kylo Ren for the next season. It's all going to be about his downfall versus his sister's rise. No,
But they
we get
flip
this
it.
showdown
It's Graydon
where the
instead,
fight,
possibly.
yes,
Right.
where the fight fucking sucks because it's built around this fucking glowing suit she has, and they fight in total darkness. But that means you don't get to see the whole fight in a show where they haven't shown you any fights.
Yeah, like you said, the Gales were underutilized.
That's your one fight.
Foreman just fights them off screen, and I thought in the first episode I was like, all right, the makeup and the effects on these guys are pretty cool. Like I'm pretty into them when they first attack.
They
the
have
camp-
unique
the
stuff.
castle.
I'm excited to see how they fight. That one girl's
Yeah.
a harpy.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
One guy throws ninja stars.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Kid fucking takes one like
That's
it's
the other
nothing.
D&D thing of it too. Is it's like I just bought a ninja star in town. They just had them,
Yeah.
so I bought them.
But
They're
also-
10 gold each, and
Yeah.
I use
Mike,
it.
Again, you're a DM. Your player character's like, I know we're in the wagon, but I'm gonna poke my head out. You're like, don't do that. She's like,
Don't.
no, I'm going to. And you're like, okay, roll for fucking evasive because you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
a ninja star.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just roll and say that's 3 damage.
Ah.
that hit you in the arm. So that's fun too. Yeah, you get a naginata, all these weapons from
Yeah.
all over the place, and it's like, yeah, that's
Oh,
fine.
yeah,
It's
Willow
D&D.
has a flamethrower at one point, like you said.
Yes,
I have a
again, very
hatchet,
practical
yeah.
effect, not used. And then
Yeah.
ultimately, Elora Danan holds Kit's hand after she has used her Mighty Morphin Power Ranger suit to kick his ass and says, hey, you and me, what makes us best friends? We both know the power of love is the most powerful thing on the planet. And they're like,
Right.
oh, that's right. And even Eric Possessed is like, oh, that's right. Wandering up is Willow, who has
Yeah.
the staff that was not in the first movie. Shalendra's wand is like her magical conduit. We learn
Yeah.
that Graydon's broken flute, because it
flute,
has a
yeah.
great meaning to him, is a powerful magical conduit. Willow has had this fucking dope ass Gandalf staff with a green stone on it, and you're like, the whole time you're watching the show, you're like, damn, that's a sick ass staff. And I guess you're supposed to think that because he walks up, takes the stone up, and goes, all right, now here's a spell we're all familiar with. I'm going to whisper at this stone. You rub it on his face like you're some sort of girl on Facebook selling magic rocks and tell him how much you fucking love him. And now this asshole is a part of our crew, and I guess a major character next season.
Well,
Boo!
no,
I like
this is
Dark
what I think.
Eric.
So
I like your pitch.
I was
Eric
Dark
and
Eric.
Graydon kind of switch places, so I think next
Yes.
season is going to be like Eric's part of the party now, but they have to save Graydon.
But
or
they
whatever.
but he sucks and they hate him, Jacob, because then I am pro that.
But it's going to start a whole love triangle with him and Graydon both being into a
Yes.
Dannon. She's
Yes.
got to pick between them. I think Jade and Kit, they're doing their own thing.
I think that ship has sailed. Yeah.
But I do like them. I do like the moment when Eric wakes up, good Eric again, and Willow says, "You're gonna be all right." And he says, "Who's that guy?" He's never met Willow before.
That was maybe the best joke of the whole show.
Yeah, that works.
It works.
Yeah. I do. I want more of the show. So
I think it's it's no Game of Thrones to me. It's not even the Witcher show to me in terms of quality, but it is better than Rings of Power, like you said, and it's watchable enough to me that I
House of the Dragons. But you're naming all these things, Jacob, where you can see why Disney Plus would go, Jesus Christ, we don't have one of those. I'm ex-CEO Bob Chapek. I'm about to get fucking fired in a fucking
what do we have in our
hostile
backlog?
takeover.
Willow?
What do we have where fucking idiots wave swords and say oogie boogie magic, or whatever? Well, we have, sir, we have this thing called Willow that no one has allowed to greenlight a sequel movie to. And you get the idea that they rushed this out to compete with that stuff. Now, do we get a season 2? I ask you, I say all that, and I ask you this to say, is this enough of a feather in their cap where they go, we're just happy to be in the George Lucas business? Like, fucking, we can afford to lose on this because it pretty much seems like nobody's watching or talking about it. Or
how
do they go the net? I don't know. But
does
do
it
they
really
go
need
the
to be for Disney Plus? You know what I mean? Like,
well, for Disney Plus is now admitted to operating at a loss. But Jacob, do they operate with the mentality that Netflix does, where it's like, oh, 5 billion eyes didn't get on this, destroy it immediately?
well, that's what I hate about Netflix, where it's like you got Neil Gaiman begging people to watch Sandman on Twitter, or else it won't get a second season. It's like, come on, can't we give some people give these shows the benefit of the doubt a little bit? Like I was saying, sometimes shows, they take a little bit to get an audience. Maybe they take a season or two. Game of Thrones season 1 was not a hit. It only became a hit over time because of word of mouth. So if you just can't, if Game of Thrones was canceled after one season, I mean, obviously went on to be a huge hit. Lost was another one where it's like word of mouth spread. And it's like these shows today, if they were put out by Netflix, would get canceled after a single season. Like, Cowboy Bebop, obviously there was mixed reception to that live action Cowboy Bebop, but you liked it, Colin. I'm sure there's some other people
And you spent so much money on it.
Yeah, to immediately be like, oh, in the first week it didn't do the numbers we wanted, it's gone. It's just like
Think
breaks
of
my
our
heart when stuff
favorite
like that.
series that we'll be getting back with shortly, Star Trek. Almost every single Star Trek would be canceled after season 1, except for Strange New Worlds by that metric, because the season 1s and 2s are generally kind of rough with all those shows.
That's not how TV works normally. It takes some time to build
Get your
good
stride.
word of mouth. Yeah.
You
It
find
takes
out
some time for the characters to gel. The first season of The American Office was notoriously bad, and once they further refined the characters and the relationships, that's when it really hit in the second season. So sometimes you got to give these shows some time, and I think this should definitely get a second season, and it's watchable enough. I'd rather have a second season of this than Rings of Power, like you said.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And one of those things is already guaranteed for a second season, and it's not this.
Yeah.
So,
and they have to make a second season of that just because they already sunk so much money.
That is hubris.
yeah, that is $1 billion of even worse writing than this. That's the thing. There are some issues with this, but I was thoroughly entertained. I think it's fun. Again, it reminds me of Xena vibes. It's fun. It's a little lighthearted,
Not taking itself too seriously.
No, but when it does take itself seriously, I think the core arcs of the characters work. So
yeah.
It's got a big
Got
heart.
strong characters. Yeah.
An ensemble that I will show up for regardless of whatever situations are around. That's how you kind of know you have a strong character show, which is what I think this is.
Yeah, and you give a year to see who meshes, what the real chemistries are, and then that affects the decisions with storytelling and what kind of characters you put together in your little, when you split the party inevitably and stuff. You know, how do we?
And then and when you become a Kit Dora shipper like me, that's how we're founded.
Yeah,
Mike.
you
You're right.
you shift over. Yep. I'm
Next
Borman
season,
Grayson.
You got Jade thinking about like, oh, do I side with the Bone Reavers, my original family, or with Tir Asleen? You can kind of delve into that.
We get the answer on Graydon pushing his brother out. It seemed like he was possessed when he killed his brother originally. Has this all been the grand scheme of the worm? Is he the harbinger?
Right.
Using Laura Dannon's form to lure him to the dark side.
It also seems like literally they have to return from where their quest ended. And I really love that gimmick too, that they turn around and go, all right.
We gotta go all the way back.
We did it. Yeah, it's like, right. You really do respect that Gandalf brought those birds at the end, because he's like, we're not turning around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're in back again. They only got there. Season 2 is the back again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
so
a movie to wrap it up? I don't know. I just want more.
One season in a movie, that's what they say, right?
Yeah. Look, Disney Plus, if you're listening, what's his name? The guy that came back.
Now Bob Iger. Yeah.
Iger.
Who, again, I just worry that Jacob, he says like the failures of the past, because it turned out that Bob Chapek was like hiding all this money in Disney Plus as a streaming service. Like, I really feel like he just might be tightening the belt there, but you go like, but you only have so many chances at these specific properties. Like, that would be like if you had an Indiana Jones TV show that you were like, well, we just don't believe in this anymore. Well, then you can't go back to Indiana Jones. You've poisoned that well. Do you want to pull the trigger?
You really want to have to go to Warwick Davis's trailer and be like,
his little
sorry,
heart.
buddy, we're not getting a second season.
What?
No, of course not.
Well, no.
That would be so sad. Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah. It'd break my heart.
Well,
when you see the behind the scenes, it seems like everyone had a lot of fun making it, like cast and crew. It's like a good energy around the production, at least.
The
I was
volume's
actually watching
cheap.
some behind the scenes stuff, and they're just joking a lot, and like it seems like the cast really got along. So
Tony Revolori rented a church to live in that was like a converted space there in Wales, and they would all crash there like every night. So the whole place just ended up just like living in one place together. And I think you can feel that camaraderie too.
Dang, yeah, I buy it. Yeah, give us more Willow, please. Okay.
More Willow. We're starting the petition
It sucks.
tonight.
I truly laughed. I was like, I hate that movie. What do you mean you're watching this? I said to you guys, like, that seems dumb. And now here we are where I'm like defending the fact that my favorite character was walked down the aisle to a Bruce Springsteen song in a medieval fantasy show. It's like, how dare you?
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the anachronistic song choices, but I don't know how
I want
you guys
my
felt
MTV.
about them.
I don't mind it.
Money for Nothing.
I really did not like it. And then the minute the boss song started, I was like, I defend all of it.
Yeah. Guess who's
Some
back?
of them didn't
The
work
first
for me
one
as
that they
much.
dropped. I'm like, yeah.
Black Hole Sun, Enter
That
Sandman.
was crazy.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's having fun.
I love a
James
Knight's
Gunn
Tale.
has poisoned the world.
Knight's Tale.
Yes.
Come
you're
on.
right.
Come on. It's totally chronistic if a Knight's Tale is accurate.
Yeah, I guess. You're right.
Yeah.
It's totally chronistic.
I just coined that term. A man can change his stars.
That's right.
Well, let's go talk final thoughts and wrap it up on Willow here. Right after this.
She's trying to grow the bush, and that's like a funny comedy bit where she's like, "No, why are you saying it? Like, you're saying it wrong. Say exactly how I say it."
No,
That's very funny.
No, not like that.
I picked
Very
the wrong
good.
finger too.
Yes,
Like
all
that stuff is good.
Yes, all that stuff is good.
Right.
Look,
yeah,
we're
so
back.
here.
We're here on Normies Like Us. We're about to leave Tir Asleen and leave the Willow word behind. Which I want to say this, Mike. This is like, I feel like this has become like my Cobra Kai, where I'm like getting you guys like excited about this dumb fantasy ensemble
Sequel
that
to a
has
random
like
80s franchise.
With
that
teenagers.
has corny teenage moments and humor that I'm also like, yes, but that's like part of why it's good. And I like
Right.
it's
someone's child from the original.
yes,
Yeah.
and you know they're gonna just truly across the board anybody that's still alive. They're gonna if there was a season 2, they would build it around and bring them back.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I probably more Joanne Whaley, I would have to imagine for season 2. I would bet they'd beef her up. We'll mention real quick and say that if you're not aware, please watch the documentary Val on Amazon. But if you're not aware of what's going on with Val Kilmer, he has throat cancer, had a very serious procedure, tracheotomy, has his throat removed. He just cannot
He basically
talk.
can't talk.
He has retired from acting.
You saw him in
Obviously,
Top
he's
Gun.
been in. Obviously,
His
the
character-
Iceman came back. God bless
Yeah.
you, Admiral.
But they gave his character throat cancer because that's the only way they could bring him back.
and it's not going to happen for this. So again, giving up his physical body and just having it be the spirit voice, which is their son, between Joanne
Jack
Whaley and
Kilmer.
Val, Jack Kilmer, who I don't
Yeah.
think does a very good impression of his dad, just because he leans too much in sort of like the up LA, California whoa dude stuff,
It
which
kind
is
of sounds
not
like young Mad
yeah.
Mardigan because I looked up, he's like 27, so he's like supposed to be, Mad Mardigan from the movie, basically.
Yeah, basically.
I guess so. There's a peck here with an acorn.
Yeah, luckily they're not throwing the
Don't
word
call
peck
me a
around
peck.
too much anymore.
Right.
That's most of the movie, yeah.
Yeah, we can't use that
People
word
just
anymore.
calling him a peck.
But I all that to say, it is. I just want more because I want us to have more fun episodes where one of us is getting so excited to share it with like our other hosts, and for some reason, and I wouldn't have guessed in a billion years, for me it's this fucking dumb show. And God, we're here talking Willow. Willow, can you believe it?
Well, look, you know me. I think I've said on here before, I like fantasy, and even if it's bad fantasy, I'll still be there and watch it because, there's just not enough shows like this. And
Except for the Rings of Power, you didn't finish
But like
that.
Jacob,
that was
you didn't watch
bridge
Rings
too
of Power?
far.
Did you watch the Witcher spinoff?
Yeah.
I
haven't
started
yet.
it.
The
It's
one
much
with
worse
Michelle Yeoh.
than this.
I've heard it's really bad too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's got Michelle Yeoh in it, so it
Blood
can't
of
be
Elves.
all bad. But
It can't be all bad.
It's all right,
Yeah.
but this is already a better ensemble. Like I'm 4 episodes in, 3 or 4. It's all right, but this is stronger. That's how I feel about it.
And we need more lighthearted, kind of fun fantasy like this. Like I'm excited for the D&D movie with Chris Pine and all that. But like I love my Game of Thrones and stuff, but sometimes you had enough of grimdark and you just want to have fun on a little fantasy D&D campaign.
I don't even
We
think
need
it's
Princess
the fantasy.
Bride level stuff.
Yes, it's just the lightheartedness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with this genre is, I think, it's hard up for that level. Like in the current era, like lighthearted fantasy is a genre we don't have a ton of right now.
Yeah. Everything
So-
wants to be Game of Thrones, which is understandable, but sometimes you just want to have fun.
Yeah, more things need to be like Willow. I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes here, and it's an 86 with critics and a 60% with audiences. So I was only looking up reviews on YouTube, vanilla, just because I was like, I want to see people who like this show. And all the thumbnails are just like disaster, garbage, dumpster fire. And I'm like, what the fuck? But it seems the critics score is more charitable, and even 60% is better than
It's
what the
probably the
thumbnails
same
would suggest.
people.
It is the same people, but I
The
wish
same people that complain
Artificially
about
dropped.
Star Wars.
have
and-
conversations if you like this is what I'm trying to say, because right now
Yes,
the voices aren't
please.
very loud, at least on YouTube, and that's a bummer because I think this is
Well,
a
it's
show.
like,
Willow.
people that
Therefore-
are like, oh, they're ruining like Willow is sacred.
You didn't even
really,
you
Willow
didn't even
is
think
sacred?
about Willow
Yeah.
in 20 years.
There aren't lesbians in Tir Asleen.
You can't
Like,
ruin
What
Willow.
are you talking about?
Right, like Jesus. Not enough brownies though. But I did like that
Oh, my
scene
God.
where they walk up to
Pollock
their
is your
balcony.
favorite character?
Yeah.
Can you imagine, Mike? Like Kevin Pollock, who's been in a zillion movies, almost seemed like he was too good to come back for it. Just the fact that they're like, oh my God, do you want to go on this adventure? And he's like, no, not at all.
Not at all.
But yeah, where they're in prison by the Bone Reavers just happens to be
We live here
where
too.
his house
This is
is,
my
I guess.
daughter. She wears a graphic T-shirt. We're doing our
Yeah.
bad French accent still.
And where's the other
Wow.
guy? Oh, he died, or he didn't die. He moved.
He's
south.
gone. Yeah, he's sadly
Yeah.
gone. In
Yeah,
that he
but-
moved south.
I need
Yeah.
a brownie on the quest in season 2, just sitting on somebody's shoulder, hanging out. I want I want a little cut of rope. You know, roll a
there
barrel
were
off the
so
cart.
many fantasy elements in the movie. We know fairies exist because we saw the queen of them, Cinderella. It's like, make a fairy a main character in the
Raziel,
season
the
or the
sorceress.
next season. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's she up to?
She is, given that they have Cinderella's wand, and that seemed like the other sorceress's main weapon. I would assume she'd pass because it seems like she was the teacher role to Willow, right?
Yeah,
almost.
yeah.
She showed Mad Mardigan how to go across the veil. You know,
Yeah, probably.
how to become a force ghost. She learned that
Right.
first, right? Yeah, that's my final thoughts.
There's a lot of ways you could go.
I
but I think
appreciate
the
the
important thing is,
recommendation.
make a season 2. Mr. Bob Iger, listen to us.
It's
We got
not gonna
3
happen.
votes for a new season. 3
Yeah.
watchers right here.
It's not gonna happen.
Can Collins watch it 3 times? That's 5 watchers
That's
if
so
you count
many,
the extra 2.
so
Probably
many
like 50%
completions.
of the audience
Is
right
that what
there.
you want?
I'm
Is that
gonna
what
watch
you
it
want,
again
Bob?
now. I'm not kidding. Now that I've seen the movie,
Please.
I am gonna rewatch it, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's just good vibes. It's kind of like the Sonic movie. It's just a force for good. It's just a good thing that's out there in the world, and sometimes that's enough.
Yeah.
You don't need to be having a row. Just be good.
It just gets
That's
me
right.
hungry for D&D, Mike. I want to scratch that imagination itch. I'll say that. Like, it just makes me be like, here's what I would do on that quest. I'd be this crew member who would be, I'm Scooter the Hat, and I'm from Kashmir, and
You found the curious of curiosity. You're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
what's that do? You know, I give them a magic
Power it
item.
up.
Yeah, that's cool. Once
I'm
a
into
day.
it.
Yeah. Well, that's Willow, everybody. Well, I thank everybody for coming along on this journey. Now we have to turn around and go all the way back. So please do 1x reverse on this for the entire duration, listeners.
Yeah.
And get all the way to the beginning, just like the crew of Willow will have to do in season 2.
Please
But yeah,
do.
this was
And
great.
please write out to us. Let us know if you watch this, if Willow was a big important thing to you. If you weren't one of the people who was like, no, I'm with society, I reject this thing. If my son's name is Mad Mardigan, if that's you out there, hit us up at Normies_like_us. We would love to hear that across all our socials. Hit us up on YouTube as well.
They could have recast Mads Mardigan, Mads Mikkelsen to be Mads Mardigan. But anyway.
That's his superpower. He gets recast as those people. He'd be like, "This, it fits. It's basically my name."
I'm old now.
Look, you know, there's someone out there that Willow is like their Star Wars, and Madame Mardigan is like their hero, their number one hero in the world.
Oh, I will say this real quick. Do you guys know? Once this bomb, George Lucas was like, "Oh, I don't give a shit anymore." Gave the rights to super famous comic book writer Chris Claremont, who of course like invented half the X-Men. You know, Kitty Pryde, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Wolverine.
Yo, that's
like,
the good generation.
all these fucking like truly
greatest
all
generation.
the X-Men. You know, he was like, okay, well, can I write Willow follow-up books? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. So there's a trilogy of books called, I think, the Shadow Catcher trilogy, Shadow Mage, Shadow Thief, Shadow Master, or something, or like Shadow Star, something like that.
Yeah.
I wonder
that
how canon
are-
that is now.
All gone because here's the opening scene. Basically, a nuclear magic bomb goes off that blows up Mad Mardigan and Sorsha in the first scene.
Wow.
And like Willow is like scarred, and he goes by the name like
Jeez.
Battle Master from then on. Like,
what
and
the
he's
I don't know
like
if
a
that sounds like
badass.
it to me.
And like Alora Dannon was raised as like a celebrity, so she's like a spoiled brat and stuff. So you almost wonder if they just went like complete 180 on it.
That's like the Star Wars novel expanded canon that existed before the Disney movies started coming out. Where
Well,
Luke
Thrawn is
had-
the villain. It
where
is
Han
called
and Leia
Shadow
had
of the
twins and
Empire.
stuff. Yeah.
Shadow
Willow.
Empire, yeah.
Shattered Sea
Well,
Empire.
That sounds interesting. I don't know if that sounds. good
That's
to
the
me,
Grim
but-
Dark reboot,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But interestingly,
check that out.
there is other Willow content. There's a couple video games that I ever played, I think, in the 16-bit era. Genesis, Super Nintendo, there's a platformer and stuff, but I never played
Some
them.
fucking toys I saw. I might start getting a bunch of Willow merch.
I want a
so be on the
curly
lookout.
stick. You know what? We got to get Willow while the stock is low. We got to get in now.
Yes,
'cause
we also have a friend who is a wizard now, so we could get on the wizard aesthetic.
That's true.
That's true.
And
Wizards
Mike, you've
sorcerers.
seen Reservation Dogs, right?
Yes.
Of course, there's one of the main characters in Reservation Dog is named Alora Dannon because her mom watched Willow when she was
Right.
pregnant with her, right?
Thought it was a
Oh
very
my
special
goodness.
name.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
it's very
right. That's
Your
special
name's
right.
baby.
Alora? She's like, yeah, my name's Alora Dannon.
Alora Dannon, and everyone just calls her Alora
Wow.
Dannon.
Yeah, some people in
incredible.
the Willow fandom believe Dannon is just the title of sorcerer, and they do it at the end. So it's like he would be like Graydon Dannon. I
Huh.
don't know. Willow Dannon?
Willow
I don't know.
Dannon. Interesting.
Sure.
We'll explore it in season 2, book 2, whatever it is.
It's
Come back
definitely gonna
then,
come out.
Normies. Otherwise, we've been your hosts. This is I'll be Colin Orsha this time.
I'll just still be Mike Martigan,
And this
the
is
greatest podsman.
Jacora Dannon.
The
You
chosen
are
one.
a
great,
sorcerer.
Mike. Mad Mike again. You are great.
You know, doing this podcast once is worth 1,000 deaths, listeners. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you
Tell
next
us more
time.
poetry.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.